My priorities at the moment, I have a very big mandate that extends to 5 years, but my priorities for the moment is to implement a number of actions that we have put forward as part of a new communication of the European Commission, and whereby we're trying to get all the member states, all the 27 member states, to facilitate the work that they do on this issue, to prevent trafficking, to protect the victims, to assist the victims, and to prosecute the criminals together.
Now, this is all part of the European directive, but it's a question, isn't it, of getting that directive transposed in all the countries. How is that going to be done, and can you play a role in that to make sure that not only it is done, but that it is done to the standards that will actually make it work? Because we can transpose the basics and it won't make much difference, will it?
The directive was actually agreed upon by all the member states last year, and they have until 6th of April the next year, 2013, to ensure that it's properly translated into national law. It's basically EU law that has to become national law. To the point that, of course, this is all on paper, we are expecting that the member states will ensure that it is properly transposed in April. Having said that, as you very well pointed out, what we need to focus on is implementation. At the moment, we are working with the member states to facilitate their work in ensuring proper transposition. But it will mean that the member states have to show the goodwill, the political will, to properly implement all the legislation into action.
And your role in that, is it an advisory capacity? Are the member states, particularly, I guess, NGOs and stakeholders in the member states who deal with these issues, are they coming to you and to the European Commission for advice? As we said at the beginning, it's a huge topic and there are many different aspects of trafficking, aren't there?
There are many different aspects, and what my role is to ensure better coordination of all the work that is being done vis-a-vis trafficking in human beings. And as you said, it's a very complex phenomenon. My role is also to create more coherence and to get all the relevant authorities and stakeholders of civil society, as well as citizens, to see the links between the different actors in this area. What that means is that trafficking in human beings is not only a crime, is predominantly a crime, but it's also a human rights violation. It means that it's something we have to prevent. It means that we have to protect the victims. We have to ensure that the perpetrators go to jail. To do all that, we need to ensure that all these policy areas come together. And it is my role to give some strategic orientation on how best to do that. What I'm also at the moment doing is ensuring that all the relevant actors are well informed about how to best transpose the directive, how best to implement the new communication from the Commission, which is basically the new policy of the Commission. And I am to a large extent responsible for ensuring that this new policy for the next 5 years is implemented properly, and also to collect information from all the member states on what they're doing to reduce demand for trafficking for sexual exploitation, for example, for labor exploitation, to ensure that they do awareness-raising campaigns, to ensure that they put all their legislation in order, and when they report to the Commission, I have to put together a report as well at the EU level.
A report presumably assessing how well they've done in terms of bringing all those strands into the legislation. Now, is the new directive and these new transpositions into country legislations very different from what they have at the moment?
It depends. It depends on the various articles, on the various chapters, if you like, of this legislation. For some of the member states, we know that some of the articles are in line, but not all. So this is why they have this period until April 2013 to ensure that everything is up to date, if you like, with the EU legislation.
You can't say much, obviously, until April when the job has been done. If there are countries that don't transpose it or don't transpose it to the correct degree, are you in a position to do anything about that?
Well, what the Commission can do, or should do, and must do, is ensure that it receives a report from all the member states on how they have transposed this legislation, so how they have ensured that it is part of their national law, after which the Commission will do its own report. It will monitor the member states and, of course, issue relevant both recommendations and sanctions as relevant.
The other problem that, of course, comes up is the way this is viewed by the media, because they too have a fair amount of responsibility, I would suggest to you, for their interpretation of these issues. And I know it's something that particularly the European Women's Lobby, of which you've been a member, and people's attitudes to this vary from country to country. You yourself are a Cypriot, Myria. How would you say, is there a division, let's say, north-south division in this, in terms of attitudes to particularly sexual exploitation?
Okay, well, thank you for raising very important questions. I do think that the media is fundamental in ensuring that there's better awareness to the public, to potential clients or customers or users, if you like, of products or services by victims of trafficking. But there are also many forms of this contemporary slavery. There's sexual exploitation, there's forced labor, there's domestic servitude, there's forced begging of children. People are being trafficked to have their organs removed. It is horrible. So I would say that the divide is not necessarily between north and south. I would say that there's different levels of awareness amongst the citizens and their responsibility in ensuring that they're not involved in these issues. And it is our responsibility as policymakers, the media responsibility as certainly opinion makers and shapers, to better inform the public on what to do and what not to do, and to ensure that they understand that slavery is all around us and we can no longer tolerate it.
Myria, what is your message to people on this issue?
My message, and this is something that will come out very strongly also in our awareness-raising campaign that we will do in 2014, is that we are surrounded by a horrendous crime, that there's almost 1 million people in forced labor in Europe, estimated. So the number could actually be a lot higher, and that we cannot sit there and accept that. And it's a responsibility, a joint responsibility, to work together towards eradicating this problem. And we cannot do it in each of the member states. We have to do this as EU citizens. We have to work together at the EU level. Member states agree on that because it's a transnational type of crime a lot of the times. And unless we work in a transnational way, we won't have a lot of results. And another message is that nothing will really be achieved in an effective way unless the civil society is involved.